Hello, welcome or welcome back to the YarnNYarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Here on the channel you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting, spinning, crochet and weaving, all of the fibre related things. Welcome to day 6 of our 12 cast-ons making adventure for 2025. If this happens to be the first video you're clicking on for the channel, you're most welcome here. The 12 cast-alongs is a make-along that I host every year, whereby between Christmas Eve and the end of January I cast on 12 new projects to set myself up for my year's worth of making. And for the last couple of years, the wonderful members of the YarnNYarns community here on YouTube and over on Instagram have also been casting along with me. If you want to participate, you don't have to cast on the full 12 projects. You can just cast on one if you want, or anything in between. It's entirely up to you. There is an intro video, a few videos back on the channel if you want to find out a little bit more about how you can participate. Apologies if you can hear a noisy cat in the background. She's just woken up and she's obviously grumpy about something. Going around the house meowing. I think she's trying to make sure James is still here because my partner James has been away for the last 10 days and he arrived home yesterday evening, so I think she was pleased to see him, and now she can only see me, so I think she's off on a wander meowing around the house to see if he responds. Is Friday the 3rd of January as I'm recording this, although it'll be a couple of weeks before it actually goes up onto the channel. I have a day off work, yay! You have to excuse my wet hair, I've just got out of the shower, but I wanted to try and quickly record this intro. You might be able to tell from the light in the background that the sun's out this morning. I was hoping to get up to watch sunrise at the beach, but I overslept, which is fine, I obviously needed it. But I wanted to record this intro because in a moment the sun's going to come right in through the window. Day 6. I'm going to be casting on a sweater today. I've got the day at home and I should have a reasonable amount of time. I'm hoping to get out and enjoy the sunshine at some point. But I feel like today is a good day to start a sweater project. Now, today's sweater is going to be a Lento, which wasn't on my original list for the projects that I was going to cast on this year when I made a list back at the beginning of December, but I've been tempted into casting one on because 1, I have the yarn for it, and 2, I've also seen a few people in our lovely community have cast on Lentos for their 12 cast-ons as well, so yeah, I've been completely influenced to switch my plans up and start that. So a couple of days ago I recorded a little snippet chatting about my yarns, and so I'm going to pass you over quickly to Ange from the past to tell you all about those. I have these 3 gorgeous skeins of yarn that were a really, really kind gift from one of our community members, Dagmar. And this should be plenty to make a Lento, which has been on my list for ages. I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to pronounce this, but here is the dyer. There's some yarn details. I have 3 skeins of this. My only slight reservation about using this yarn is that a lot of the versions of the Lento that I've seen and like use a solid or a semi-solid yarn, and obviously this one has got a bit of variegation in it. I will be alternating the skeins to try and limit the potential for any flashing or pooling. I don't mind that kind of stuff on socks or hats or shawls even. I'm just not as big a fan of it when it happens for sweaters. This is a slight gamble on that sort of side of things, but of course the Lento is knit holding mohair with your 4-ply yarn, so having a consistent mohair colour over the top of these will maybe help to damp down some of those colour variations if they occur. I need to swatch though to see what colour mohair I want to hold with this yarn. I've got a few different options in my stash. Sadly no red, because that would be ideal as this yarn is mostly red. There are some little sort of shots of orange and verging into sort of pinky tones. The closest I've got is I have several skeins of this pink, which I know is not that close at all, but so I will be swatching with the pink to see what that looks like. I intend to cast on one sort of swatch and then swap the mohairs out. I also have 2 different orange options. So I've got this sort of slightly duller, more rusty orange, and I've also got this really bright orange as well, which more kind of matches the vibrancy of the orange in the skeins of yarn. As an outsider though, I've also got this green, which I'm going to try. When I first picked this yarn up out of my stash, I thought, wouldn't it be really nice if I had like a deep moss green mohair to hold with it? And I knew I had some green mohair in my stash, but this is a lot lighter than I had recalled it being. Because I had that in my head and I'm going to be knitting a swatch anyway, I thought I might just try it. You never know how these colours will play together. So I needed to get one of these skeins wound up, and I'm going to, yeah, cast on a few stitches and knit a little bit of a swatch to see which of those mohairs I prefer. My gut is telling me probably one of these is going to look the best, but my heart is hoping it might be one of the brighter colours. We'll see, time will tell.
Who am I to say we tried our best? Who am I to say we kept ignoring all our promises? Who am I to say there's nothing left? Who am I to look down? Who am I to say you won the war?
So that same evening I sat down and I did a swatch with those 4 different colours of mohair, and this is what I've got. These fabrics knit up really quickly because it's 4-ply plus lace weight, knit on 6mm needles, and all of a sudden you've got, you know, half a sleeve. I did 10 rows of each colour of mohair, and it's always kind of surprising how the different mohair on top can alter the look of the colours. If you look at this swatch, it's kind of, let's say, surprising that the background yarn is all the same colour, isn't it, when you look at the variations in tone and colour here. So I think I have decided to go with the pink mohair, which is the one on the top here. I think this pink really sort of enhances the richness of those deep reds in that original yarn, and it also sort of tones down. You can still see that the yarn is variegated with those sort of little splashes of orange and yellows and lighter reds, but I feel like it tones down the differences a fair amount. The rusty orange was the next one that I swatched with. I'll try and pop a shot of this swatch where it's not sort of being destroyed by the sunlight. I'm not complaining about sunlight, but that kind of brightens things up. I feel like it looks a bit more patchy than this one, i.e. the variegation shows up a little bit more. Overall, I think it just detracts from the rich reds in that original yarn. Same with the orange down the bottom, this bright orange. I like it because, I mean, no surprises if you followed here for a while, you know that orange is my favourite colour, and I like the sort of bright vividness of that. It looks very fiery. But again, I just feel like I want to keep the feel of that original yarn for this project. I don't know why, I just think that the beautiful reds in there are just so scrummy, and I don't have a red sweater either, so I feel like that's kind of influencing my decision as well, whereas this one does turn things a bit more orangey. Finally, in the middle there is that green, which I actually loved knitting those few rows, and it was just really fun to see how the green and the reds were playing together. And I think if I'd have had a darker mohair in my stash, a darker green, which is what I thought I had when I was thinking about this originally, I might have gone for it because I really like the play of colours. And I think it plays on the different tones in that yarn and kind of enhances the look of it. This green it's just not quite the right green. I don't like it enough. So yeah, I'm going to go with the pink at the top. That shows the colours off quite well if I hold it at that angle. I'd love to know what you think. Obviously it's going to be too late to influence my decision, but I'd love to know in the comments below which of those 4 mohairs you would have gone with. Which one do you like the look of the best? Today I shall be casting on. I've only wound up one of my skeins of that background yarn, the red yarn, the main yarn. I need to wind up the other 2 at some point because I will alternate those yarns through the body, but I think you cast on with the rib at the neck. I think it's a top-down sweater, so I'm probably not going to faff around with alternating yarns for the rib. I can get on and start that pretty much straight away, and then later on today when I've got a minute I shall wind up the other 2 yarns, and then hopefully by that point I'll be ready to move down to the body of the sweater.
All I did was fight so hard, I forgot fighting for? Who am I to save us breaking down? Who am I to turn around? Maybe someday I'll wait for it. Someday I'll look past all the reasons and wrong turns I took. Someday I'll fight for it better than I fought for you. Who are you to say you changed your mind? You've known it since the winter fell and you've just been biding your time. I won't ask no questions, I'll back down, 'cause I got time and I ain't wasting mine. Maybe someday I'll wait for it, someday I'll look past all.
After a really lovely walk in the sunshine, it was time to return home and get my Lento started. Lento starts with a provisional cast on, which is not always my favourite, and I tend to default to the crochet version. I know there's a couple of different ways in which you can do this cast on. I've tried the version a few times where you cast on over a needle or a cord, and I just find that really super fiddly, so I always default back to my crochet. And while I was doing that, I got my hunter-gatherer to get the fire going and warm us up, because although it was nice and bright outside, it was also very, very chilly. Yarn ready and cozied up in front of the fire. Didn't take too long to pick up my stitches for my Lento, and we've also started watching our traditional between Christmas and New Year rewatch of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, although of course for us we're into the new year now, but we're trying to keep some of our Christmas traditions, even though it's been a strange one for us this year. I fairly quickly got through the ribbing, the neckband, and it's a folded neckband, which is why you do the provisional cast on. Also, can we just take a moment to appreciate Newt, my cat's little collection of stuffed toy mice. She loves these things. Thanks, Fred. After I joined the two halves together, it was time to get winding up my second ball of the red yarn and get going with the body of the Lento.
Reasons and wrong turns I took. Someday I'll fight for it better than I fought for you. 'Cause I fought for you.
Before I share with you my progress on my Lento day one, it is of course time to share with you some of the cast-ons that have been happening in our Yarn and Yarns community. Before I launch into that even, I just want to say you have to take me as you find me, even more so than usual today. I'm suffering from the tail end of a virus or a cold that James kindly shared with me, so yeah. Anyway, let's forget about the sickness and concentrate on the joy of all of the wonderful projects that have been cast on recently as part of our make-along. So Gemma has started a cardigan and some scrappy socks. Jenny has finished all 12 of her cast-ons. Well done, Jenny. And the last couple were a March hat and a garter marla. Joan has started the tendril pullover. Sonnenblumenimp has started 2 children's hats and a pair of broken Jack socks, and said that they weren't planning on joining in, but it just happened. You're most welcome to the cast on party, everyone is. Nancy has cast on a gnome and a dragon. I hope they're kind to each other. I hope the dragon isn't the gnome eating kind. Angie has started a fairy rings cardigan. Lisa has started her 11th and 12th projects, which were a cowl and a pair of socks. Carol has started a crowberry sweater and some socks. Linda has finished her 12 cast-ons, which I think I mentioned in a previous video, but she said she's also cast on 2 more test knits since then, so cast-onitis, it's real, right? Yukon Viv has started a pair of Cozy Knitter Advent socks. Katharina has also cast on the full 12 projects, including sweaters, socks, cowls, pullovers, a shawl, hats and mitts. So an amazing collection of cast-ons, Katharina. Sarah has started a both sides now hexie cardigan. Amy has started 6 dishcloths, which I think she's counting as one project, and a pair of mitts. Fooled Toque joined me and cast on an heirloom quilt cardigan and said that they've also cast on 11 of their 12 projects, which is amazing. Angela from Attic Spin Dye has started an area shawl and granny go round socks. Turtle for Cats has cast on a same as it ever was hat, 2 pairs of vanilla socks and some tweedle toe socks. Jane has cast on a mini sock garland, which sounds fabulous, and she said that she's going to be working on that throughout the year, and every time she finishes a pair of socks she's going to knit a mini sock to go into her garland. And Belinda, who's joining the cast-ons for the first time, has started a 100 squares field guide afghan. That pattern's a mouthful. A scrappy lumbar pillow, a chickadee cowl, a nightfall doll and an emotional support chicken. And she says so far all of her cast-ons have been from Stash, which, as I've said many times in these videos before, one of the reasons I started the cast-on was to get some of the things that I already have on the needles, be that yarn or patterns. So yeah, always love to hear that folks are able to use things from their stash for their cast-ons. Okay, so for my first day progress on the Lento, you've got to love a project that's knit on 6mm needles. I managed to get quite a lot done. I think the last time I showed a clip of this, I'd finished the collar and I was just working on the short rows at the back. So the back is slightly more knitting than the front. Just into the raglan shaping now. It's a really simple knit, so I can see why this pattern is very popular. You just get a nice squishy cozy jumper to wear at the end, hopefully. I'm really loving how this mohair is working with my main colour yarn, and my concerns about the variegation in this yarn and the overall look of the sweater were completely unfounded. There's no pooling or flashing or anything happening. There's just little flecks of the different tones of colour scattered throughout the sweater, and I'm most happy with how this is looking. It's easier to show you the back here because there's a little bit more fabric. Just need to knit, 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 and I mean there's still a lot of knitting to go, especially for a sweater in my size, but I made all of this progress in one day, so I feel like this will probably be a project that I get called back to quite quickly after I finished my cast-ons. I've still got 3 projects left. When I'm recording this, I've still got 3 projects left to cast on, but I can see myself coming back to this quite quickly just because it does progress quickly, and there's that sort of satisfaction in sitting down to knit for a couple of hours and, you know, doing 3 or 4 inches of knitting as opposed to usually when I'm working with my 4-ply yarns, you know, a couple of hours knitting equals, you know, 2 or 3 rows. But on these bigger needles, it just seems to fly through. Although, of course, I haven't yet reached the maximum number of stitches that I'll be working with. So as I continue to do those raglan increases, my rounds will get longer and longer. But yeah, I'm very happy with this, and I can see why it's such a popular pattern. And depending on how this works out for me in terms of fit, I can definitely see myself adding a few more of these to my wardrobe in the future. There we go, we have reached the end of day 6 of my 12 cast-ons adventures 2025. So please do let me know in the comments below if you're still casting on, what you have cast on recently. I've still got some more cast-ons to catch up on, so if you've commented on the last couple of videos, then I shall give you hopefully a shout out as soon as I can. I've still got plenty more videos to share with you, so I've got plenty of time to catch up. But yeah, do let me know what you've cast on since the last video, or if you have finished casting on, what projects you have gone back to. There's been lots of finished objects in our Ravelry threads and over on Instagram already, so I've been enjoying seeing those. Lots of speedy knitters out there, and lots of sensible knitters who've cast on small projects rather than, you know, like the 10 sweaters that end up on my needles each year. So yeah, let me know what you're working on. If you haven't joined the cast-ons, then just let me know what you've been working on, what is making you happy in your crafting life at the moment. I love to hear from you and be inspired by your making. I will of course be back again soon with another making video. Should be hopefully day 7 of the 12 cast-ons, so I hope you will join me for the next one. But until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.